Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today we have a very strange case about a young man from Trenton, Missouri, who is found hanging in a tree. As creepy as that sounds, it goes to another level of weird with his feet missing. Now, while this normally would be explained away as them falling off, well, his shoes were right by the body, fully intact without any feet inside of them. I will go more into detail as to why this is weird, but first we need to try and understand Tanner, his life, and his previous crimes to understand why this story should be understood as not self-inflicted, but rather someone had it out for him. The disappearance of Tanner started the evening of June 7th, 2017. The young 19-year-old was a father to his infant daughter, future husband to his fiancée, and of course a son to his loving mother and father, who was at the time deployed with the military. He also had two siblings, Kelsey and Tyler. His mother had just started to cook dinner. Out of nowhere, he stated he was going to leave to visit a friend named Jeremiah. His mother questioned who Jeremiah was since they live in a very small town. This really is supposedly the situation of everyone knows everyone in this town. However, I do have a problem with this statement, but we will get to that in a moment. His mother told him she just started dinner and asked if he was going to eat. He assured her he would only be gone for about 30 minutes and to fix him a plate. Unfortunately, he would not make it home for dinner, or ever again. At first, it was not too much of a worry for the family. Usually, if he stayed out, it was difficult to get a hold of him, seeing that he did not have a cell phone. That being said, he usually would have found a way to get a hold of them to let him know he would be out later than expected. The next day, Tanner's sister Kelsey started her own amateur investigation to find her brother. After retracing his steps, she ended up finding Jeremiah's apartment. After knocking on the door, she let herself in because it turned out to be unlocked. What she would find was very gut-wrenching, for the furniture was overturned, there was a massive hole in the wall, and everything was thrown about as if a tornado went off inside of there. The back door was left wide open as well. She immediately thought there had to have been a violent fight inside of the apartment. To make matters worse, Kelsey found her brother's hat laying on the floor. Apparently it was a hat that he would never leave without. This made her realize her brother is either in serious danger or is no longer around. After this, she would take her brother's hat to the police station to file a missing persons report. Now, this is where a lot of people get upset and do not understand the skepticism of the police, and honestly, there's some serious theories as to why police did what they did, but I will save some of those for a little bit deeper into the story. At first, police blew her off, told Kelsey that Tanner probably ran away with some other girl. To understand why police did not think anything of it, we have to go back to Tanner's criminal history. Now, while Tanner was known to be a good kid in his community, as he grew up into being a teenager, he went down a more troubled path, using drugs and generally hanging out with the wrong crowd. Tanner and his brother Tyler ended up being charged with felonies. The brothers ended up in a drug deal gone bad type situation, where they were the aggressors who broke into an apartment building and held multiple people at gunpoint. Who were the victims, you might ask? Jeremiah. This is why I found it strange that in a town of quote-unquote everyone knows everyone, how the family and his friends would not have remembered the same Jeremiah that Tanner held up in his own apartment, let alone the name of the apartment complex. This to me is a very, very strange detail that I have not seen anybody question. Also being held up was the daughter of a woman named Stephanie Miller, who was Jeremiah's upstairs neighbor, which, again, how would they not know that when going to this apartment that, oh, that's weird, this is the very apartment that my brother ended up robbing. Oh, that's weird, apartment number this? Was that not in the court case that he held up this apartment unit? I'm confused. They never mentioned this. Tyler Ward had been charged with unlawful use of a weapon by exhibiting it in an alleged dangerous or threatening manner while in the presence of one or more persons. He was also charged with armed criminal action, resisting arrest by allegedly fleeing from a police officer, and tampering with physical evidence in a felony prosecution. In the last charge, Tyler was accused of wiping a .22 caliber pistol with alcohol and slamming it into a concrete floor in an alleged effort to impair police investigation. Tanner faces charges of unlawful use of a weapon identified as a small block model 1900 revolver. He was accused of exhibiting it in alleged dangerous or threatening manner in the presence of one or more persons and was charged with armed criminal action. You probably understand where I'm going with this as to why police blew off Kelsey. Though Tanner's family claimed he had changed and would never leave his fiancée or daughter, and learned his lesson, the lesson did take place only 6 to 7 months before his disappearance. Seeing that he was charged in court November 22nd of 2016 and went missing June 7th of 2017. To police, a quote-unquote thug going missing would be him dodging his parole. However, that being said, this is first a major lesson to all police out there to never assume that this is not a serious case. It is okay to doubt, and it is okay to be skeptical, but it's never okay to not do your job. The job of the police, as I will always say, is to take everyone's claim as a real crime and to do the work. Even if the officer does not believe you, if you do the work will show it. And boy oh boy, did minimal work ever show that Tanner was not missing due to his own volition. After realizing the police would not be of any help, Kelsey continued to look for Jeremiah, and while passing out missing persons flyers of her brother, she actually ran into Jeremiah, wearing supposedly her brother's shirt. Not just any shirt, but the very shirt he was last seen in. Now, these details are strange because his sister describes the shirt as having either weird stains or cigarette burns. I'm not sure how you confuse the two, but that's all the info we really have, other than her confronting him and him saying he didn't know anything. Then Kelsey threatens to call the police, to which Jeremiah said, "No need, I will happily meet you at the police station." Now, this is where things go wild. According to Kelsey, the police asked Jeremiah for the shirt, to which he fought police to the point where they forced it off of him. Police tested the shirt and only came back with anomalies. This is incredibly vague and very strange, but even more strange, something set police off. They gathered cadaver dogs and a search warrant to search Jeremiah's dad's property in Edinburgh. Why they didn't search Jeremiah's apartment is a complete mystery, but after searching his father's property, they found a burn pile that the dogs were hitting on, only to supposedly find animal bones. The police dug a 6-foot by 10-foot hole where nothing was found. This does not make much sense to me as to why the police did this. Did Jeremiah confess? Is there a cover-up of Jeremiah knowing someone or himself having deep connections with police, or even higher up than that? It's a complete mystery. 6 months would pass before anything else would turn up. And what turned up is the absolute worst case scenario. This is the moment Tanner would be found. And unfortunately, it was in the absolute worst possible way. On a cold December day, 2 childhood friends of Tanner's were walking to school together when they heard a creaking noise coming from one of the trees above. When they looked up, they discovered hanging from a high branch was the decomposing body of Tanner Ward. His fingers were mummified and his feet were missing. The tree was only 3 blocks away from Tanner's family's home. This was a wooded area, but it was in town, and not heavily wooded like you would think. Just a small patch that the kids would hang out in town. I'm sure every town has this type of area. Tanner and his family would frequent the area. They found a small pile of his clothes at the base of the tree, being pants, shoes, and a single sock. As for his shirt, there's conflicting statements that he was wearing the gray shirt or that the shirt was on the ground. As for his family, what's weird is they do not seem to acknowledge anything about the shirt and still claim Jeremiah had Tanner's shirt on. I'm not sure why there has not been an explanation, or the family stating that the shirt found on site was not the shirt he left in. It's just something that the family could answer so easily that they have not mentioned. I'm confused by it. They could say he didn't have a shirt on. Shirt was on the ground. That they mistakenly thought that Jeremiah had his shirt, or that there was some different shirt altogether there. It's so easy. The coroner would declare this as Tanner doing this to himself, and the body had been there the entire time. Many people claim to have walked through there, and apparently the body was never there. Everyone who had walked through there agrees that they never would have missed it, not to mention the rotting stench on a hot summer day. And the reason why I say hot summer day, I know this body was found in December, but apparently had been in a tree for 6 months. 6 months before December would have been June. All the way through June to October, that would have been quite the nasty smell. Now, the obvious elephant in the room at this point would be the missing feet and the partially mummified fingers. How did this happen? While there are many explanations as to how the fingers mummified, the coroner's response is strange at best. Doing any type of Google search explains the only way to mummify someone would be an intentional or accidental exposure to chemicals, extreme cold, very low humidity, or lack of air. so that the recovered body does not decay further if kept in a cool and dry condition. This can happen in a hot area, but still requires dry and oxygen-deprived environments. However, the coroner states that it can be possible in a hot, humid climate of Missouri. I myself find that to be completely ridiculous to even suggest, and so does everyone else. This only raises further questions. As for the missing feet, one thing that bothers me is the lack of detail. While everyone points out that if the feet simply fell off, which is very common in a hanging scenario, that the feet would have been stuck inside the shoe, meaning the foot should still either be there, or an animal would have carried it away, or destroyed the shoe to get to that foot to eat it. It's very weird that there were 0 traces of feet inside both shoes, and both shoes were on the ground together unharmed. My question goes to, did it look like the feet were cut? Were the ball joints missing? Still there? Had there been any signs of cuts in the bone? I'm not sure why this information is not out there, which again raises questions. Naturally, this case being considered self-inflicted has closed the case. Why police were so quick to search Jeremiah's father's property and then abruptly go with a self-infliction story is very odd. The only thing I can think of is a cover-up, but I have no evidence of this. Some rumors include him being tied up, beaten, and tortured for months, and then stored in a freezer after losing his life, which makes a lot of sense seeing that his body was not decomposing properly with the time frame given. Partial mummification in his extremities, it's just too strange. The rumor from police is Tanner started using very heavy drugs, possibly getting them from Jeremiah, and lost his mind. Though I do not believe the rumor, it's not exactly out of the realm of possibility, just unlikely with everything that took place. I understand why they would go to this conclusion, seeing that it had only been roughly 6 to 7 months after he held an apartment up for drug money. But one way or the other, this is incredibly suspicious and extremely weird to say the least. I hope answers and justice come quickly for the Ward family. Having 2 little girls myself, I could not even imagine what his little girl must be going through. Thank you all so much for your support by watching this video. It would mean the world to me if you subscribed and gave this video a like. And if you enjoyed watching, please leave a comment. Thank you all so much, and please remember to stay safe, be aware, and protect yourselves.